May 26th, the world marches on. Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Mr. Steinecker, tell us what's good to know.
I tell you what, well, we had a Memorial Day weekend. I hope everybody did get a chance to just have some downtime to kind of reassemble their thoughts as we reopen our community. It looks like you're feeling better after your surgery. Sounds like downtime was what you really needed, right?
Mm-hmm. It was lovely. Yep.
Good. Well, we are wide open here. And I just really want to kind of get started because what I was most nervous about, so we took yesterday off, today's Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know, okay, that we've been open as a city for a couple weeks now. What did the numbers really look like? And you and I talked about coming back from Memorial Day. If we saw all red, we were going to be concerned. So I'm going to borrow your screen here for a second. I'm going to show the numbers for today and let's get started and talk a little bit about that.
So if memory serves, we were at 20 and 2% ish last time.
Right. So here's what we're looking at right now. So hopefully you can see that screen all right. We're at 22.2. So we've decreased a little bit over this is average cases on a 14-day average, about 22.2. And our 1.91 is that percent positive of the test cases over the week period as well. But I want to dive into both of these numbers. So these are the two gates that we're being told if these numbers go up, if this goes over 6%, and if this number goes so high that our hospitals can't handle the volume, then we have to pull back our business. And so that's why we're watching these things. Here's that 14-day average. What you and I were hopeful of, we know that back in April, around April 11th, my birthday, as we remember now, we were almost at about 25 cases per day. We went way back down when we reopened our economy back on May 4th. We were at about 11 point something. And now we have, as the 2 weeks that we've been open up, you see how many cases we keep growing. So again, this is one of those notions of, well, this is why when you say keep the folks who can get sick, those who are most vulnerable, keep them away from the crowds because of this. Right now, we are still seeing the increases. But yesterday, finally, we saw a little bit of a tapering down. We hope that starts the next round of going down. But right now, I don't believe we're out of the woods of saying, wow, the volume is going down. Joe, the volume just continues to go up a little bit. But what we do see is it's because we also test a lot of people in Pinellas County right now. You're seeing us now starting to average about 1,200 folks a day being tested. And we're still getting a beautiful 1.5%. Remember, back when we first started talking about this, we were pulling 5 and 6s and 4% is what we were shooting for. And so you're seeing a lot less people coming down with it when they are tested. And finally, the last gate, the four gates, we were told to monitor. It was about the beds available and the ventilators available for us and intensive care units available. You can see how many beds are available. This is just for Pinellas County. So this, again, is one of those reasons for all of us to understand the numbers. To me, Joe, we came back from Memorial Day with the best news ever, which is I do believe people who are wearing their mask are helping us. But I do believe the numbers are back to where we can say safely that, hey, after this first round of reopening, after this first 2 weeks, the numbers went down. So this is a good news scenario. And now it's time to start thinking about how are we managing it? And maybe as more people feel safe about coming back, we'll start handling it even better. So I think it's a great first report.
So that's good news. It's a great way to start the week. Obviously a couple numbers there to really keep an eye on because the last thing we want to have to do is move backwards. That was so painful. And a little bit of, so that ounce of prevention right now, wear the masks, be safe, and just, get a step on this thing's neck and really, push through it.
Yeah, because what we want to do now is we're going to keep going forward. If the news this weekend from the governor on Friday was that, okay, now summer camps and daycare for kids is open now. So this is a way to get all of our employees back to work, but it's also an outlet for our kids to start getting back to work. And so what I thought is let's start by talking about how are we going to bring students learning experiences back to work. So what I thought is let's start today by talking with Dr. Griffith, who's the provost of both the downtown and the Midtown St. Pete College campuses. And there she is now.
Dr. Griffith.
Hi, good morning.
Great to see you.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Thank you all for having me.
So you've had a wonderful 8-week experience, I imagine. It looks like you are in the same position we all are in your home, working from home. Is that's the scenario for you?
Yes, it has been since about mid-March when the college decided to ask the employees to work remotely, obviously with health concerns and safety. We all migrated home and we've been here ever since.
Well, I tell you what, I jumped right in, but there we know you, but I'll tell you what, there might be viewers that don't. So go ahead and please introduce yourself to all the viewers of Catalyst as we get started here.
Sure. My name is Tashika Griffith. I have the privilege of serving as St. Petersburg College's provost for the downtown and midtown campuses. A few unknowns that folks may not know about me. I'm actually from the Bahamas, born and raised, and I came to this country as a university student, and it kind of sparked my love for higher education. And I've been in higher ed for over 20 years, even though I'm only 18. Go figure.
Well
Well,
done.
well, we are certainly glad to have you, and you're also very active on our chamber board on my executive committee, and we'll talk a little bit about your volunteer work with Grow Smarter as well. But I tell you what, so you've been very involved in the experiences of universities and higher ed, but you've never seen anything like this before. What has it been like being in charge of two campuses trying to figure this out?
Sure. And as I've mentioned, I've been in higher ed for 2 decades, and I typically have been a part of a lot of crisis, to be quite candid with you both. Coming from Virginia Tech, leading a lot of crisis with our students on different institutions. And we've never experienced or seen anything like this throughout higher education. I think for us, knowing that there's so much uncertainty in terms of navigating through the pandemic makes it so hard for a lot of our higher education leaders to do what we think we do best, which is make plans, right? We really thrive on organizing ourselves, really catalyzing all of our plans, thinking in terms of students, our staff, our faculty. And with the pandemic, all of that's kind of been thrown out the window because how do you plan for something that's still ongoing that we really haven't really gotten a sense of how it truly impacts all of our stakeholders. So that's really been the main difficulty for us right now is figuring out how do you plan through this pandemic? How do you navigate through safety of all of your different stakeholders when you don't really know what's coming next?
Wow. I don't think I realized you were up at Virginia Tech when those were shootings, correct? I mean,
Yes.
wow, I had no idea. And so, yeah, not transferable, but certainly helpful in this experience, right? Understanding that now, and St. Pete College, I don't think folks really understand how large of an institution it really, really is. Tell folks a little bit about St. Pete College itself.
Sure. So we have campuses all throughout Pinellas County. We serve 47,000 students, and that's through our academic programs and our Workforce Institute. So the two campuses that I represent are out of 11 sites that we actually have throughout the college. So we span from Tarpon Springs, which is our northernmost campus, all the way down to our Allstate Center campus, which specializes in fire and legal, way to the south. So we're comprised of a lot of sites throughout Pinellas County, and all of those different cities and community members have so many different needs. But again, we've all come together to figure out how can we serve all of those different stakeholders, community members in a way that really truly represents what their current needs are and future needs, because that's always ongoing.
Gotcha. And so you guys have just wrapped up your semester, right? I mean, everybody got everything wrapped up and grades in and the quarter's done. Is that correct?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, we did have to migrate to an online platform for all of our students. So from mid-March all the way down to May and still for the summer, we had virtual learning for our students. And we ended our spring semester, and we were very, very proud to say on a high note with our students. We had close to 2,000 graduates for the spring semester, and we started our summer term last Monday. So we're very excited with the students that we were able to bring back because we were really worried about what the impact of the pandemic would be for a lot of students who are now learning virtually, who typically are a lot more successful when they have that hands-on face-to-face. But a lot of our students have commented that the college has really helped them with their technology needs. We were able to supply over 400 students with Chromebooks and laptops for those who needed it. We were also able to supply some dongles to help students who had, capacity for internet access needs. So we were able to help them through that. And just the wraparound services that we provide with regard to the CARES Act and the financial support that we were able to help our students who had need to pay their rent, to get food, to just help themselves with their bills, utilities, and otherwise. All of that really made for a successful term for the college because students were able to continue on with their education with us.
Wow, we have talked so much about just the relief, the 4 R's as you are aware of them and the relief efforts. And it just was striking me as you're talking that what you're running for your community is those same 4 R's. I mean, you had relief efforts in place, and those what you were just describing is you've got students who, yes, you want to keep teaching, but they don't have the ability to get to your classroom via the internet, and you guys had to figure those things out, and so that to me that's amazing. And to me the other kind of hard part is those instructors too being asked to do the same. That I rarely hear about that part, so just describe what the struggles are for some of your instructors too, as far as just trying to put that information and try to teach without being in person.
So it has been an interesting transition for our faculty members, but we're really proud as a college to say that we actually led the state among our state colleges. We have about 90 to 95% of our existing courses already had online shells built. So it made our conversion to online really, really easier than a lot of our counterparts, throughout the state. So a lot of our classes and courses were already built for an online component. So our faculty were already trained for the most part, but having it built and knowing that it's there and actually having to implement it and actually do it through a pandemic was very, very hard for a lot of our faculty members and staff as well. You go from an environment to having, going into a campus, going into your classroom and setting up, and now you're home, you're with your family, you have kids that are also doing virtual learning. So it was difficult for a lot of our faculty members to engage their students and still be engaged in their homes with their students.
Yeah.
And that's
So
the number one feedback that we got from a lot of our faculty members.
wow. Okay. So that's what I was just going to say. So that's the next part of this now too, is how do you keep what when you learn from that now you're being asked to keep moving forward. So how are you going to balance that? Right now I see that, even though you're back up teaching people today in your college, but you're at home. So there are, so you guys are trying to figure this out on the run. So how does it look going forward for you guys? What are you learning? That's great feedback you're getting from your instructors. Now, how do you apply it? What changes do you see happening?
Sure. So right now, the college, Dr. Williams has actually asked for a task force to be created, and we created a 30-person return to work task force for the college. And those 30 people represent students, faculty, and staff. And they meet weekly, every Thursday, actually, and they have been meeting for about 2 weeks now. And they have been charged with coming up on that return plan for the college. Right now, the discussions involve phasing in. As many of you know, and obviously you're experiencing, it's hard for us to just switch the lights on and 100% everybody goes back to campus. So we're talking about how can we be more strategic and deliberate with how we return to campus without endangering our students and our faculty and our staff. So right now we're talking about phasing in, and even in terms of our classes, how will that look? We know that a lot of our students in our science and our nursing and our dental programs really benefit and need that hands-on component. So as we talk about which classes get phased in or reintroduced to the campuses, those are the ones that take priority. Our general education courses, which may not require that hands-on component as much as the sciences, we're talking about, okay, we can bring them in staggered. So they can come in maybe 2 to 3 weeks or maybe a semester later. We're still having conversations about that. We're having conversations about what does that look like for our faculty. Do we have faculty just in a classroom by themselves, but they're on Zoom, or they have a live online feature where they're teaching to their remote class, but they're physically on campus? And we're also talking about our staff. For one, for my downtown and midtown campuses, would not want 100% of my staff members being there for the potential of one person being sick and then spreading it, to the entire team. So what does that look like? Do we stagger our times? Do we rotate where we have 50% of my staff there on a Monday and a Wednesday, and then the other Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday? So we're having discussions about that, and we're also having discussions about PPE. What does that look like if we're, asking for everybody to comply with wearing a mask, and we may have students who say, or staff or faculty that say, I don't want to wear a mask. How do you enforce that? How do we get everybody to be responsible and be safe, but still not infringe upon people's personal beliefs? So a lot of conversation right now with that return to work task force, a lot of different, layers to how we do this and how we do it responsibly.
Well, I'm kind of just smiling now because I really think what you just summed up is what our community and every business has had to go through. Collectively, you guys have to do that again. I mean, like you have to create all those whole sense of culture of how you do this, and when you do it, and because I think we've all learned part of those 4 R's. The fourth R is that reimagine, and you guys have had to reimagine to keep going, but there's going to be changes of how universities work, right? I mean, and it's got to be kind of fun
Permanent changes.
right?
Absolutely, and it's interesting because our president, Dr. Williams, has engaged us in that very thing. How do we reimagine as businesses, where we are a business, as an institution? We set strategic priorities and goals, and we were actually in the middle of beginning to set our priorities for the next 5 to 10 years. Well, now with the COVID-19 pandemic, this is a great opportunity for us to really reimagining what the next 5 to 10 years will now look like for St. Petersburg College, knowing that, for example, we didn't really consider working from home or working remotely as something that really could be done unilaterally. And now we know that it can. So, what does that look like for us? Again, what does that look like for our faculty members who now have this option to do a Zoom online versus a traditional Blackboard or kind of chat box? What are the opportunities there? One could argue that it's limitless in terms of how we expand our reach to our students. So we have a lot of reimagining to do as a higher education institution.
Yeah, and some of that reimagining, it's perfect that we can now, because I don't know if we would have forced ourselves to use Zoom as much to believe that we could do all that stuff. We could have talked about it, but having to be forced to use implement some of the technology itself, I think is the jumpstart. All institutions, especially universities, we're hopeful of, and I can't wait to see where it brings. And I know we've gone on, and I know you got to get going, but what you've done for how you're thinking about the campuses that you run for us here in St. Pete, you're doing also as chair of Grow Smarter for our community. And you also led up us pivoting, and we've talked about that on the show. We've actually had Jocelyn on the show to talk a little bit about what you're doing, but help people understand what you're really proud of how Grow Smarter has helped all of the entire community get through this pandemic as well.
And you just hit it, Chris. That's what I'm most proud of. Grow Smarter, as you know, our equitable economic advancement initiative to really try to move that gap from folks who have actual inequities with regard to race and place. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that we are working side by side with the community that's being impacted to not just assist, but the way in which we're assisting, I think, is so much more deliberate and intentional. We have a needs assessment that we work with our 6 work groups to find out directly from them, what are the needs from your specific work group area that the community is saying that we need it to really address and to really help them with. From those needs that were expressed to us, we were actually able to create several initiatives that I'm very proud of. One of them being a scholarship fund through the college. We actually, through that needs assessment, we realized that there are quite a few folks that have been displaced, have been unemployed, from service, retail, and hospitality industries. So how can the college help retrain those folks to get them actively back into a job, to help themselves financially and their families. So we're very, very proud of that. We're also really, really proud of the fact that we partnered with One Community Plan to assist and subsidize micro grants for some of those smaller minority and women owned businesses that may or may not have been eligible for some of the larger grants out there. So we were really, really helpful with that community in making sure that all of their needs are represented and they're actually getting the assistance that they need. Very, very also proud of our business resiliency team. We have a group of staff members from the Chamber, Grow Smarter, Greenhouse that are working very diligently to keep in communication with those businesses to find out how we can assist them, not just with relief, but recovery. I think right now we're in an interesting kind of middle ground again, where we're trying to plan when a lot of things are still unknown and still uncertain. And a lot of our businesses are grappling with that. So, how can we provide the information and the support that they need to get them through to the recovery side and sustain themselves as a business? So, very, very proud of all the work. You mentioned Jocelyn, our manager for Grow Smarter. She's been working diligently alongside of Chris, actually, who I know wouldn't want to take a lot of the praise, but him and his team have definitely been at the forefront ensuring that we remind businesses of the benefit of not just being a chamber member, but being a part of Grow Smarter as well.
See, that's how beautiful. I mean, you are the right leader for us at the right time. Because every time we talked, even early on, late in March, when we were just figuring this out, very cool-headed, Dr. Griffith. You were always like, "Okay, we're just going to keep moving forward." So your leadership, I certainly appreciate, and I can't wait to see how it goes for you. I'm have an affinity. My sons both. One of them has already graduated from St. Pete College, from the St. Pete Collegiate High, and one's about to graduate from St. Pete Collegiate High and your college. And can we discuss quickly? My understanding is that we might be getting a St. Pete Collegiate High for our downtown campus as well.
I know this is something that Senator Brandis has mentioned, and it's something that he's hoping to actually have happen. We're still kind of waiting, and we're in kind of preliminary discussions, but nothing has kind of been decided upon as well. I think from a college standpoint, we're really excited about all of the opportunities that present itself. With the pandemic, we've actually seen so many different opportunities that we can continue to help the community thrive. And if that happens to be one of the ways that we can do it, we're excited to hear more about it.
Well, and thank you. And if you think about great cities, like what makes great cities, there's all kinds of things. Yes, you have the arts, but you have education. And I think we're blessed in St. Pete to have St. Pete College and USF and Stetson and Eckerd, all clustered in one community. And I think it allows us to have folks like you with the ability to help us think through in critical times. And I think you've proven it. So I appreciate it and look forward to more of it. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks.